She was never supposed to arrive this fast. At just 20 years old, standing on the biggest stage in sport, with the weight of a nation behind her, she didn't hesitate. The moment came, the space opened, and she ran. Not away from pressure, but directly into history. Before the world knew her name, before Olympic gold, before global recognition, she was simply a young girl in Timaru. Running across local fields. Chasing older boys. And unknowingly preparing for something much bigger. This is the story of Jorja Miller. And how a small-town athlete became one of rugby's fastest rising forces. Welcome back to Skylight Waves, the home of powerful sports stories and the journeys that define greatness. If you enjoy deep, cinematic biographies that go beyond highlights and headlines, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Now, let's go back to where it all began. Born on February 8, 2004, in Timaru, New Zealand, Jorja Miller grew up in a family where rugby wasn't just a sport. It was a shared language. Her father, Craig Miller, had played more than 200 games for the local Harlequins senior team. Her grandfather had worn the same jersey before him. Her mother, Tracy, represented South Canterbury in women's rugby. Rugby wasn't introduced to Jorja, it surrounded her from the very beginning. She also grew up alongside her two older brothers, Corin and Dion. Being the youngest meant she learned quickly. She had to. Playing with older siblings rarely leaves room for hesitation. But rugby wasn't her only world. At just 4 years old, she began Highland dancing, following a tradition that stretched through generations of her family. It was precise, disciplined, and demanding. Over time, she didn't just participate, she excelled. She became a national age group champion in her favorite dance, sailor's hornpipe. The control, balance, and rhythm she developed there would later become invisible advantages on the rugby field. She also played basketball. Another sport that sharpened her spatial awareness and agility. Even then, without knowing it, she was building a foundation that would define her future. Her rugby journey began early. At just 4 years old, she joined her brother in a Timaru Harlequins boys team. There was no separate path. No special treatment. Just competition. And she didn't just keep up. She led. By 2015, she was captain of the Harlequins under-12 team. She was also one of only 2 girls selected for the South Island under-48 kilogram side. A year later, she captained again, this time in the under-65 kilogram category, continuing to earn her place among the region's best young players. She became part of every South Canterbury age group team available to her. But at 13, the path shifted. She became ineligible to continue playing mixed rugby with boys. For the first time, she had to leave the environment that had shaped her earliest growth. She transitioned fully into girls' rugby, representing Timaru girls' high school and regional teams. It was a change, but not a setback. It was a redirection. In 2017, she competed in the Biography secondary school girls competition. Her team reached the final, and although they lost, Miller scored 3 tries. Even in defeat, she left an impression. Soon after, she competed at the South Island Secondary Schoolgirls Tournament with the Hanan Shield team. She was the youngest player at the event. Yet by the end, she had been named the tournament's most valuable player. She was also named captain of the tournament team. Some players grow gradually. Others accelerate. By then, she had earned a nickname, Scooter. A reflection of her speed. Her energy. Her ability to move through defenders with urgency and intent. At the time, her focus remained on 15-a-side rugby, where she played as an open-side flanker. Sevens rugby was only occasional. A different format. Faster. More open. But that would soon change. In 2018, she joined a New Zealand Dutch Barbarians under-18 Sevens invitational team on a European tour. Despite not having Dutch heritage, she earned her place based on ability. Many players on the team had never played sevens before. Preparation required commitment. For 6 months, she traveled monthly to Whangarei for training. It was demanding. It required sacrifice. But the experience exposed her to a wider rugby world. In Europe, the team dominated early matches in London. Then in Amsterdam, they faced national and club champions. They won every group game. They overcame injuries. And they won the final. It was a glimpse into the future. By 2019, Miller made a critical decision. She realized she preferred sevens rugby. The pace suited her. The space rewarded her instincts. The game allowed her athleticism to flourish. That same year, after moving to Christchurch Girls' High School as a boarder, she joined a stronger rugby environment. It was a strategic choice. One made with intention. She wanted exposure. She wanted higher competition. She wanted a pathway to the Black Ferns Sevens. And soon, she delivered. At the National Condor Sevens tournament in 2019, Christchurch Girls' High School reached the semi-final against the defending champions. At one point, Miller was sin-binned. Temporarily removed. Forced to watch. When she returned, the match went into extra time. Then came the moment. She received the ball, saw space, and sprinted 80 meters to score the winning try. In the final, she scored 4 tries. Christchurch Girls' High School became national champions. It wasn't just victory. It was arrival. Even when her team placed 5th the following year, Miller's individual performance earned her selection in the New Zealand secondary school girls team. Against international and representative opposition, the team won every game. Her trajectory was becoming impossible to ignore. By 2021, she attended a national high-performance development camp. She was now firmly on the radar of New Zealand rugby. But progress rarely comes without resistance. Later that year, playing for Canterbury in the Farah Palmer Cup, she suffered a knee cartilage injury during the semi-final. Despite scoring 2 tries in that match, the damage was serious. She managed to play in the final, relying on anti-inflammatories. But the injury required surgery. Then a second surgery, after the first was unsuccessful. The recovery cost her a major opportunity. She missed selection for the 2022 Commonwealth Games. For many young athletes, setbacks at this stage can stall momentum. For Miller, it became part of her foundation. In 2022, she signed her first contract with the Black Ferns Sevens. She made her debut at the Rugby World Cup Sevens in Cape Town. New Zealand won silver. It was her first global tournament. It wouldn't be her last. During the 2022-23 World Rugby Women's Sevens Series, Miller played in every event. She wasn't just present. She excelled. She was named in 4 tournament dream teams. She was named Player of the Final in Sydney. By the end of the season, World Rugby named her Rookie of the Year. A recognition not just of talent, but of immediate impact. In November 2023, New Zealand Rugby signed her to a 4-year contract through 2027. At the time, it was the longest contract ever signed by a New Zealand women's rugby player. The investment reflected belief. Belief in her future. Belief in her importance. Then came Paris. The 2024 Olympic Games. On June 20, 2024, Miller was officially selected for the New Zealand Women's Rugby Sevens team. It was the moment she had been working toward. On the Olympic stage, every detail matters. Every possession carries weight. Over the course of the tournament, she scored 3 tries. New Zealand advanced to the final, facing Canada. The match was tense. Physical. Unforgiving. But when the final whistle blew, New Zealand had won 19-12. Olympic gold. At just 20 years old, Jorja Miller became New Zealand's youngest female gold medalist at the Paris Olympics. The girl who once chased her brothers across local fields had now reached the summit of global sport. And yet, her story continued to expand. In May 2025, she made her debut for the Black Ferns 15-a-side national team in a decisive win over the United States. It marked her transition into rugby's traditional format at the international level. 2 months later, she was named in New Zealand's squad for the Women's Rugby World Cup in England. Her versatility was now complete. She had succeeded in both versions of the game. Recognition followed. At the 2024 Rugby Awards, she received the Kelvin R. Tremaine Memorial Player of the Year award. At just 20 years old, she became the second youngest recipient in history, behind only Jonah Lamu. She also became one of the few women ever to receive the honor. It placed her in rare company. Then, at the end of the 2024-25 Sevens series, she was named HSBC Women's Sevens Player of the Year. From rookie to the best in the world. In barely 2 seasons. Her rise wasn't accidental. It was built over years of discipline. Of transitions. Of decisions made early and pursued with clarity. From Highland dancing halls to Olympic stadiums. From Timaru fields to international arenas. From promise to proof. Jorja Miller represents more than speed. More than skill. She represents evolution. A new generation of rugby athletes shaped by versatility, resilience, and precision. Her journey is still unfolding. Her prime still ahead. But already, her impact is undeniable. Because sometimes, the future of a sport doesn't arrive slowly. Sometimes, it runs straight through the defense, leaving no doubt that it has arrived. And her name is Jorja Miller. This is Skylight Waves. Where stories don't just tell you what happened, they show you why it mattered.